I think it's a compulsion. I think because I wanted to be a guitarist in my youth, but I never played guitar. You know, I'd only play when I had a gig. And I know real guitarists who they have to touch their guitar and do something every day. Sadly, I didn't have that urge, but I wrote every day, and that's like, and even now, if I don't, you know, put down a sentence, I feel like the day is wasted. And so I think it's a compulsion. So I kind of write to get the monkey off my back. That's, I mean, I'm sure I have other loftier reasons for doing it, but that's the simple answer. I do it every day, and I have for now quite a few years. And yeah. So you have to pick something that you're happy to live with for the next 3, 4, 5 years, as long as it takes. So I guess with the first one, I just thought, you know, there's a lot of stories written about Sri Lanka, and especially about the war and ethnic conflict. And I just want to write a Sri Lankan story set during the war that didn't talk about anything serious, that featured cricket. Because I you know, after the '96 World Cup, you know, that was right in the middle of the war. That was such a moment where suddenly we're world class at something, even though the country is crumbling. And I thought, yeah, a story about cricket and about two men who drink arak and just watch cricket. And I realized probably no one's going to write a book about a left-arm spinner and drunks who watch him. So I was just interested. And then also looking at Sri Lankan cricket and how it had evolved and how the country had evolved with it. So that idea catches you, and I spent many years researching and writing it. I suppose for the second one, I was tired of cricket by the time, because I was, after you write a book, you're done with it, but then you have to talk about it for the next couple of years. So then I thought, okay, I want to write something completely away from cricket, and I thought a ghost story. So I guess the next thing will be something that is, I know for a fact it doesn't have any cricket or ghosts. Okay. But I just, yeah, so it's no big, there's no like central theme. I mean, I guess that's for other people to say. But I just find a topic that I feel someone should write about this, and then I end up attempting it. Look, writing is hard anyway, wherever your desk is. Even though I write for someone like myself, for my tastes and all that, my brief for the book is that a stranger anywhere in the world should be able to pick it up, even if they know nothing about Sri Lanka or cricket or our wars or anything, and have an experience with it. So, I mean, that's tough work anyway, and it takes many years. But I think once it's done, publishing, look, we don't take for granted that we're going to get published globally. And now, in my lifetime, there's local kind of small publishers in Sri Lanka, so you can get published in Sri Lanka. Yeah. But your big goal is to try and get into India and the rest of the subcontinent. And you don't take it for granted that you can even do that. So, you know, there's all challenges. And then getting published in the UK, US. I struggled with both my books because the publishing, Sri Lanka is a small country. You know, you can't assume that what you're writing about is going to have global appeal. But I don't think about that when I'm writing. I'm just trying to tell the best story that will give someone experience. So yeah, there are obstacles. That doesn't mean they can't be overcome. Obviously, big prizes like the Booker helps. I think, you know, now Sri Lankan writers, that a lot of them have been published internationally, and hopefully with the Booker, publishers will take an interest, because Sri Lanka's got plenty of stories and we've had plenty of drama and catastrophes, and there's a lot of talented writers in many genres. But yeah, there are obstacles, and the fact is, until we have a publishing industry that's, I mean, it's still subcontinent, it's India predominantly that dominates. And so I think until that evolves, Sri Lankan writers will always struggle. But I think, as trite as it sounds, the only solution is to write great stories, and hopefully it resonates with people outside of where you live. I have never seen myself as a political writer ever. I mean, I don't even engage in online debates, and you know, obviously I have political opinions which, you know, I share in private. I don't know if it's that interesting to people what I think, but I see myself as a genre writer. So the first book was a detective story. It was a missing person mystery, even though it kind of has different elements to it. And this was a ghost story. And of course, this one talks about, whereas the first one ignored the war, didn't ignore the war. The war was happening in the background. Yeah. This one looks at it head on, looks at the horrors. So therefore, I didn't expect to be talking about contemporary stuff, what's happening in 2022. But I mean, answer to your question is, the anti-government movement, I mean, it's called the Aragalaya, the struggle, and it's been going on for most of last year, and it's evolved, and we had a occupied vast spaces of central Colombo and buildings and so on. I was there I wasn't active there. I'm not an activist by any. I just sit in my corner and write stories about the past. But it was a wonderful moment when July 9th, which was broadcast all over the world, and I was part of that. And at the moment, we all know what happened. We jumped in the president's pool and the president fled, and then we have now a new president. But Sri Lanka is still going through a tough time. People are struggling. Maybe the petrol queues and the gas shortages that aren't as acute as they were 6 months ago or a year ago. Inflation is still there. The country is still bankrupt. They're still trying to get loans to get themselves out of it. And people are struggling, and families are deciding which kid to send to school and skipping meals, and so there is a social cost to this economic crisis that is looming. And so the protests unified, I think people were so desperate, it unified the country for that moment, across races, across generations, asking for this one thing, to get rid of this incompetent regime that had got us there. It was a powerful moment that the country came together. So proving that this country that's been divided over so many issues for so many decades is able to come together for a cause. So I think that's what gave us hope. So I hope that the hope that came out of doesn't die, and it doesn't get turned into another cynical exercise in politics. At the moment, it's hard to predict how Sri Lanka will turn. The hope is that this will translate into a new, maybe a younger generation of leadership coming in and having their say on the political platform. But who knows how it's going to turn out. But Sri Lanka is struggling, and we need to all come together and come up with solutions for not just this year, but for the medium term and the future. So there's a lot to play for, so it's interesting times in Sri Lanka, and let's see how it evolves. I mean, we had great names at the last festival, but this time a lot of engaged readers, a lot of passionate kind of audience members. I was lucky enough, because usually with these Litfest, you're hotel to Litfest to dinner, and you kind of hang around the other writers. Today I made the decision to walk to the festival, and everyone was horrified, saying you're going to get run over and you're going to get lost. And which is true, I have a terrible sense of direction, which a lot of writers have, I've noticed. But I took one of those rickshaws, and that was wonderful. I sat, not the most comfortable ride, but you get to see the architecture and the bustle of the streets and the colors, and so that was a great experience, which I didn't have last time. I don't know if I have big wisdom or message to share, but I would just say, keep reading and keep writing and keep listening to each other's stories and sharing stories. I think that's what this wonderful festival is about, and exchanging ideas. And I think, just keep reading, writing, and listening.
Those are great.